everybody, my name is Lauren and welcome to Caught Up in a Book with Lauren. Here on this YouTube channel, we bring you book reviews and more for the culture. If you are a book enthusiast and book reviews that are urban fiction, Black authors, African American romance, Black autobiographies, Black authors throughout the diaspora, if that sounds like it is interesting to you and you would be a part of our vibe, please subscribe to this channel. Today, we are going to have a book review. The name of the book is Stay, and it is by Ivy Symone. This book is urban fiction / urban romance, and start by reading the product description to you all so you can get an idea of what the foundation was for the book, I guess. It says, Frankie has everything a woman could desire, from the castle-like mansion she dwelled in to fancy jewels she's adorned in. She has it all. She is the mother of 2 beautiful children who she simply adores, and she was surrounded by a slew of servants who praised and worshiped her like she was royalty. Her fairy tale life was every girl's dream come true, but she never thought her shining knight in armor would come in the form of a megalomaniac. Zeno Okonjo has been proclaimed by many to be a powerful and ruthless street financier. A man like Zeno doesn't sit back and play by the rules others make. It's his way or no way. Exerting his dominance, he takes Frankie in exchange for a debt owed. It changes her life instantly. 4 years later, Frankie still hasn't accepted her fate and wants to reconnect with the man she was taken away from. An opportunity presents itself and she makes a dash for her freedom to reunite with her ex, Antoine. This was his chance to reclaim the woman that was rightfully his. Not only will Antoine get his woman back, but it's time for him to exact revenge on the man that he loathes the most, Zeno. Alright, y'all, so that is the product description, and now that I'm reading it, it actually is true to the book. It gives quite a bit away. So, overall, this review is going to be probably heavy on the spoilers, let me say. It's going to be heavy on the spoiler because it's a book that deserves like a thorough discussion, okay? Thorough discussion. So, like the product description says, you get the glam and the opulence that is designer names and designer brands, fancy jewelry and luxurious experiences like expensive cars and drivers, servants, cooks, nannies, all that good stuff. The home that the 2 characters live in is referred to as the chateau. Okay. Let me tell you I think it's funny, a funny fact. They have domesticated cheetah cubs as pets. Okay. You hear me now? And we don't hear about them too often, but these cheetahs are walking around the house like little puppies amongst very, very, very young children. Her children are both under 4, I think 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. And that's that fictional aspect because there is no way. And they are also there amongst like the kids, the people, the servants, the guests, all that kind of stuff. So they are a part of the family, so to speak, as you would expect, like a dog. But that's a little extreme, y'all. That's a little extreme, especially because they hint at the fact that the cheetahs may be used to help torture and kill people, basically. I would not want those type of animals around my kids because they might get confused. They might switch up, might get too hungry. I don't know. But, all the blood smell alike to them. So so that's an interesting fact that comes from the book. Like I said, Frankie is the main character. She's a housewife, and she's a housewife with lots of help. A lot of help because she got all those servants. Her husband is an African man from Nigeria with lots of money. Okay, so we're led to believe that it's clean money, but then we're led to doubt that it's actually clean. Okay, so his parents are both rich, so the money may have started off as clean. They were oil tycoons, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if they're oil tycoons. They were in the oil industry in Nigeria, if I'm not mistaken. But their child is now, multiplying that money, and some of his ways may be illegal. Not a lot of emphasis being put specifically on drugs, but illegal other ways. From what we know in 2022, as someone who lives in Atlanta and appreciates hip hop, we know that Zeno, the husband in the book, might be eligible for some RICO charges, okay? If this was a real book, he would need to slow down. If this was a real life, he would need to slow down because he might be facing some RICO charges, okay? So as far as the setting of this book, we don't get a clear location for the setting. I mean, they mention city and country. The guy was insulting some guys by calling them country at some point, but we don't really know where this is. And of course, it's a fictional story, so they could have given us a fictional place, but we didn't really get any of that. So I don't recall a location, but it's a location where city and country are not too far away from each other, okay? We'll put it like that. There was a lot going on in this book. But it is interesting, and some parts do seem unrealistic, but it definitely also works, I guess you could say. As I was reading this book, or as I was finishing reading this book, I was hit with a thought. I was like, oh my gosh, is this some kind of like hood version or black opulent version of Beauty and the Beast? That is the vibe that I got. When you think about it, now I have a son. So Beauty and the Beast was not a part of our repertoire growing up, as he was growing up. And I am over 30, so I don't remember everything about Beauty and the Beast, but there are some things that are like key factors that I know. And this reminds me of Beauty and the Beast. I haven't seen it in forever, but some things I know. So I feel like Frankie is basically Belle. She's being held captive. And I don't know why Belle was being held captive at this moment, but Frankie is being held captive because she got a no good, or had a no good boyfriend. No good boyfriend who owed Zeno money at one point, and in order to pay his debt off, like we heard in the product description, he gives his girlfriend in exchange for that. So we deal with a little human trafficking in the book. I'll talk about that a little more later. But he gives this guy his girlfriend to pay off his debt. Um, back to the Beauty and the Beast. The house that they live in is huge. It has different wings. I think one wing is where the rooms are. One wing is where this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. They have a lot of wings in the house. Frankie gets along well with the help. Kind of like Belle and talking to the teapot and all the broom, whoever else she spoke with. So she got along good with them, the people that were there to help her. Be our guest. They were there to help her. She got along good with them, but she did not get along good with the beast initially. Okay. So, the beast would be Zeno, the husband. He was mean and he was strict. I remember the beast was strict. You can't go here. Think where his sleeping quarters were. You can't go there. Zeno wasn't strict about necessarily where she moved about in the house. He was strict about other things like her being when she didn't get much alone time. Do you need to just be in the house? Do you need to just be here watching the kids or here serving me sexually specifically? He was that type of way, and he was trying to give her everything at home so she wouldn't look for anything outside of the home. So he was strict with a lot of rules and a lot of eyes also on her. So it was people, yes, they were catering to her, but they were also, like keeping tabs on her. So in those ways specifically, I feel like this could be presented as like a reimagined version of Beauty and the Beast. It's a little more ratchet, but I still see the similarities. Back to, or let me elaborate on the human trafficking. The book talks about human trafficking without saying those words. Okay, so the book gives us a sort of romanticized sex trafficking slash human trafficking situation, in my opinion. And they do romanticize it a bit because there's no way that a boyfriend can give away someone to someone else. And now she's stuck there. And I do know that they were threatened with death as a result of if they didn't do that. But I might have to take my chances. I would want to take my chances, I think, or have a guy that's like, kill me and let her go free. And maybe that's romanticized too. I don't know, but it was hard in this book only because they didn't touch on the fact that that it was sex trafficking, that it was human trafficking. It was just like the ex-boyfriend, which is Antoine, gave her away, and she went with very little resistance, in my opinion. And it was hard to read because in 2022 we see so much stuff about people being drugged, people missing and nobody accounting for them, and people even possibly being killed for organs. There was a boy in Georgia that was found wrapped up in a mat, and some people say that he was lacking his organs at the time of the autopsy. Other people try to say that wasn't true, so it was like kind of covered up. You don't know who to believe. But if you found out there was someone on the loose killing people and taking their organs, like, that is a reason to be alarmed. And I live in a city where you can't get into an Uber or public transportation, public bathrooms, or even like inside the Atlanta airport, the train in there. You hear warnings about sex trafficking and human trafficking. You hear or you see telephone numbers being given out, and people, if you are in fear or if you need help, this, that, and the other, you see it a little bit everywhere. So it is real. It is real, but it is really romanticized in this book. So that's, I guess, a critique of sorts in the book, but the book was still good. So if that particular fact won't trigger you and you can read past it and still get into the book, then I recommend that you definitely give the book a try. But I do warn you that it taps. I'm gonna say tap because they don't really address it. They tap on it a little bit, but it's actively happening. So it's bigger than a tap, but it's not really addressed in the book. It's just presented to us, okay? And I don't necessarily like that part. Like I said, that's, I guess, a critique, but the overall book is still good. I did not think the book was highly predictable, which was a good thing. There were quite a few times or scenes when things would happen, and I would be in total shock, total shock. I would not see any of it coming. One of those things is when Frankie unfortunately suffers a forced miscarriage or forced abortion by somebody beating her, which was horrific. And as a result, she lost her baby. Frankie actually did escape from the chateau at one point, and I will say that she escaped too easily. It was too easy. When she first got to the chateau, Zeno offered her to offered to let her run and escape. He said he would let her run, give her like a head start. He would give her, let's say, a 30-second head start, and then he would stick his domesticated cheetahs on her or after her. Is that really a chance to escape? Nah. But that happened in the book, so she was in fear. She stayed. She was in fear, and she stayed with him. And eventually, they just kind of fell into their roles, and just she was going along to get along. But she was not happy. She was not happy, and he was not happy that she was not happy. But it was a forced situation. A point that they kept making in the book was her feeling that she did not love him and him wanting her to love him. But it seems like, I guess since he is a my way or the highway type of person, he's not considering her thoughts and her feelings about somebody who she liked or maybe even loved, being willing to let her go so easily into a situation where there's no protection. Like, he didn't know what Antoine, the ex-boyfriend, didn't know what would happen to her after she was in Zeno's hands or possession. He did not know. So, so Zeno wanted to be loved. He wanted everything to just be, perfect and regular. Like, come on, now that you're here and I'm giving you all these gifts, giving you all these luxuries, go along and get along. Love me, like me, show gratitude, all that kind of stuff. But she gave him a hard time about that. So they did not communicate very well. They were kind of going along to get along. But it seems like when they did communicate, they were naked. That's when they communicated best. They managed to get along in the bedroom. I don't know if it was from day one, but it was from day 2 or 3. Okay. It was very, very, very early in their like married at first sight adventure. Okay. So they went from not knowing each other at all, even though we found out that he was kind of checking her out from afar, but they go from not knowing each other at all to sleeping together or having sex like day 2 or day 3. And in a setting like this, it seems forced. Actually, I remember that the scene when they first have sex together was sad to me because I feel like he was essentially raping her. Keeping it real. They expressed in the book that she was crying. It was in the shower, so feel like, there was like there was an actual rape scene in the book. So that's another trigger warning for anybody that may be sensitive to things like that. But that first scene of them having sex, which wasn't presented to us as rape like the other scene was, it is definitely technically rape, in my opinion. And I hate that sometimes, even in situations outside of this that are a little less complicated, women tend to go along to get along, where sex is involved. And in a situation like this, I would look back and be like, he raped me. That's what that was. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, not to dwell on that too much, but they have quite a lot of sex in the book, and for urban fiction, it was pretty tame. It was pretty tame. And I want to place an emphasis that I said tame and not boring or lame, okay? Just tame. Most of the sex was either in the bed or in the shower, and those are, I would say, tame places to have sex at or in. It wasn't super graphic or extra detailed like some other books, but you got the gist of it, honey. You definitely get the gist of it. They definitely have the vulgar language, and everything else is still there. And the scenes are sexy. It's sexy, but it's still tame. So instead of being rated X or rated triple X, I would say it's just rated R. You see that? Can you see that? So it's not, like I said, rated X or the XXX, but it's still rated R. Still very much rated R. It's giving what it was supposed to give, okay? But it is sad that, that's kind of when they connect the most. And even when she didn't like him, didn't love him, didn't whatever, she enjoyed having sex with him and did it. So that is a part of their story. And I also have to say this. I have to tell you. I got to tell you. You listening? I got to tell you. Okay. Frankie did not, and I repeat, did not call her husband daddy. Not a one time. Not a once. Okay. So there is no daddy in this book. It's amazing that it's an urban fiction book written within the last 10 years. Okay. And the main character does not call her boyfriend, husband, significant other daddy. Okay. No daddy. But she does call him pet names. I think baby or something comes up at some point. And he calls her some kind of little French cutesy name. But no daddy. Okay? No daddy. This is a standalone book, and I like it just that way. I don't think we need a part 2 or anything like that. It's good where it is. I got a whole and complete book. I got adventure and storylines and climaxes, and I got the full story. Part 1, from A all the way to Z. I don't have any holes, any big holes left in the plot or anything like that. And I can definitely appreciate that. All right, so as we heard in the book, Frankie, or in the product description of the book, Frankie has all these luxuries in life that are presented to her. So she's getting her hair done. Somebody's coming to her to do her hair, her makeup, her clothes, everything, her pedicure, manicure. They are taking care of her hand and foot or head to toe. At some point after she escapes and tries to run away, she finds out No, we know she's pregnant. At some point after she escapes, she ends up being beat up in like a robbery attempt. And luckily, Zeno is just figuring out and finding out where she's at. So he is able to rescue her in a sense, but he cannot rescue their baby. And as a punishment, an overall punishment, she is banished. She has to live with the servants in a mini mansion behind the chateau, okay? But it's the servants like quarters and where they usually are, but she is forced to stay there because he's punishing her. And for her, it was a reality check of sorts because she was hysterical after losing her baby, blamed herself, which I fully understand. And then she also now lacked a lot of the luxuries, like basics. I can't even call them luxuries. She lacked some of the basics that people need. So she didn't really have any clothes. She had to borrow clothes from the servants. Her hair wasn't done, her nails weren't done. She found herself without anything. And I was like, that's because everything you seem to do is based on a man, honey. You gotta get some independence, boo. You gotta ask other people for soap. You know what I'm saying? You gotta share the bathroom with, 12 other people like you in a rooming house or something like that. But so she found herself in a situation that she had never been in before, probably even like lower or felt lower than she did when she was with the other boy who was trying to be a drug dealer. So even though it was meant to be a punishment, she kind of found herself appreciating some of the things that he had provided for her in the past, such as just simply having your hair done or simply having, fresh drawers. And they were rich, like they probably wear fresh underwear every day. Okay. So if she had to repeat some drawers, that was a shocker for her. That was new. That was new to her. So in the book, I do see an ounce. I'm gonna just say an ounce of growth for her, and I guess I see an ounce of growth for him too. But it's very much Beauty and the Beast. Very much Beauty and the Beast. He eventually decides to start over. Let's try again. Let's try from the beginning. I know that, when you got here or when we started, it wasn't traditional. He tried to do that by taking her on a date, wine and dining her, and letting her choose the place. And because he's rich, he is a very healthy eater, used to the finest foods, as well as his palate is probably a little different because he eats American cuisine and African cuisine. But she takes him to what sounds like a southern soul food place. And it's hilarious to me because he gets sick after eating the food. I'm like, oh, grease and everything else, he can't handle it. But he ate it for her. And just when you think they're going to make up and get back together, he says, I'm going to go ahead and give you that divorce. Okay. There is another plot where there is a lady. There's always some woman lurking around. And I hate that in these books because I'm assuming life ain't really like that in real life, but I don't know. But the lady is lurking around. She is an employee of Zeno's. And it might be Zino, but I say Zeno, like Dino. But she wants him. And despite him being married to this lady that the situation and the circumstances are odd, they are married. And it really is a violation for her to do some of the things that she has done. And they do have a past sexual history. But I think that once somebody tells you things have changed, you have to accept that and move on. Accept that and still be willing to work with him. I don't know what it is, but they need to get that together because it don't look good. It don't look good, in my opinion. But we end up getting rid of her. And there's also the girl. Why can't I think of her name? I wish I could think of her name. But she was that same girl's like assistant. She was very, 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 very eager to help little Miss Frankie towards the end of the book. At first, she used to make fun of her, laugh at her, and all this stuff. But then, all of a sudden, one day, she is willing to help Frankie. And instead of being suspicious, Frankie is so desperate that she is like, okay, come on, do what can we do? And we find out that ultimately she is being tricked. They are doing like the bait and switch on her. She's being set up. Okay, she's being set up. This girl takes letters to her ex-boyfriend. Her ex-boyfriend sends her letters back, and he's like, I love you, I still love you. I made a mistake, I did this, that, and the other. And he wants to kill her husband. I don't think he ever tells her that, but he wants to kill her husband, and he also wants to rob them. Apparently, her wedding ring is in a very expensive ring that is highly sought after. It's a hot commodity. Again, they're African. They got access to all the jewels and the richnesses of the world, the riches of the world. And they go through the lengths of breaking this lady's finger in order to get this ring. I think it was a blue diamond with a couple other diamonds. So you get a hint of, just a hint, y'all, a hint of Titanic in there. Okay. But we also find out that Zeno is well connected and well respected, and they try to sell the ring, but the buyers won't even buy it from them because they know it belongs to Zeno. So that information gets back to him. He finds out that everything is not on the up and up, and they're trying to sell his ring. And then we find out that she wasn't even wearing the real ring. The ring that she had was made of glass, and the real ring is at home in the chateau in a safe somewhere. So that's interesting because he didn't trust her to have the real ring. And I think it's also interesting because a lot of these people that we see in the world, specifically the rappers, I'm sorry rappers, but the rappers and the other celebrities, athletes, that type of thing, a lot of them wear fake jewelry too. Chad Ochocinco admitted to wearing fake jewelry for the majority of his career. He was like, why would I waste my money on some real stuff? You're going to assume it's real because it's on me. And I was like, oh, child, that's one way to do it. But a lot of people do sometimes wear fake jewelry. And I'm talking about rich people. I think everyday people can wear the fake jewelry because it is what it is. We have costume jewelry, that type of thing. But you see the people in the videos and all this stuff. Matter of fact, it's probably a couple YouTube channels, but there's a YouTube channel where the guy goes around with the quote unquote diamond tester. And there be people out there in the streets with fake jewelry on it. Some of them be like, oh, no, it's fake. No. They'll stop them. Other ones, they still get it tested and either find out something they paid real money for is real fake, or they just don't be apologetic about it. It's like, oh, it's fake, and it just is what it is. It's very interesting. Very interesting. But Zeno's wife, Frankie, who they had the means, was wearing fake jewelry, but it was done to protect her, done in a smart money way, so you can look like you got on this beautiful diamond. And we do got one at home, but while you out here in these streets, in case you trip and fall, in case somebody break your finger again, pull your hand too hard, whatever, you just gonna have to fake one for now. And she didn't know that at first. She didn't know that at first. But I will say she was not trying to sell the ring or anything like that. She was actually, if I'm not mistaken, contemplating giving him the ring back since they were going to go their separate ways, finally. This book ends on a high note. Like I said, you get a complete story. You see where they started and you find out where they ended. I left some parts out just for like a suspense factor if you choose to actually read the book. But the book is and was very interesting and definitely worth a read. This is one of those books that I have actually read more than once. So I guess I highly recommend it because it was worth a second reading. If you have made it this far in this video, thank you so much for watching and thank you for getting caught up in a book with me, Lauren. Please like, share, and leave a comment down below. If you have read the book or if you are a fan of Ivy Symone, let us know down in the comments, okay? If you have another book by Ivy Symone that you would recommend, please let us know. I am definitely a fan of Ivy Symone. If you haven't checked out her books and her information, I will put everything that I can find for her in the description section below. The book will definitely be linked below. And I definitely think that you should add this book Stay to your reading repertoire if you haven't already. And also look into more about Ivy Symone because she is an awesome author in this genre. Thank you so much for watching the video. Again, like, share, and comment. And I hope you come back to get caught up in a book with Lauren. Go check out the book Stay by Ivy Symone. And come back for the next video. Happy reading, everybody. Bye-bye.